Good morning. I hope you all doing well. Today is Wednesday, May the 18th, 2022. And yes, we're all still caught up in the whole Johnny Depp trial or situation or debacle, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Now then, I, along with, 500,000 other people, have been watching trial every day, trying to keep up with all that's happened, and trying to just understand. There's so much that's hard to work through, right? So much that's hard to understand and work out. You've got these extraordinary allegations by a young woman who, let's face it, she seems to be a bit unstable, right? Stories in the news and whatnot, co-workers that have worked with her, seems to be a bit unstable. She's in this relationship, fairly limited relationship, with a much older man, a man who's approaching 60, who himself has a long history of colorful behavior, unstable type, yeah, unstable in terms of drinking and whatnot, but he's not hiding that, right? He's not trying to pretend that he doesn't drink or hasn't drank in the past or hasn't had these problems. um and never, not once in his 5 decades of life, four of which really essentially have been in front of the camera, 4 decades, one of the most famous faces on the planet, many relationships with many different women, never, not once, an outcry of any sort, right? So it's a peculiar, I mean, from the very beginning, before there's any evidence offered, it's already just a setup for a very strange type of trial. Now, there is confusion between what happened in England and what happened in the United States. In England, Amber Heard was not a focus of the litigation. It was Johnny Depp who was suing the publication that put out Amber's op-ed. They were making claims that uh, they made no attempt to verify. And then, as a result of the op ed that came out, he began to lose all of this highly lucrative work. And so it was an act of, hey, you've said something that is categorically untrue. You've done it without any kind of question for me, and you're destroying my ability to make a living. So and then the way that Amber Heard was a part of it is that she was called as a witness by the Sun to help the newspaper. And then that in turn led to IO, whom we were introduced to today, whom I haven't seen a single person say, oh yeah, IO was highly credible. I found him to be self-serving, quite tentative in what he said, and then he would be stumbling about trying to figure out or remember what he wanted to say, and then suddenly he would just proclaim this very firm statement that would inevitably be a knife in the back of the man that he mooched off of. Don't forget, these were the people that Johnny Depp let into his life because he loved Amber Heard, and these were her inner circle. The act of an abuser to say, yes, everybody come in, never has that been uttered, those words on the face of this planet. Never. If you are an abuser, it requires that you keep the environment under control. And the reason it requires that the environment be under control is because you don't want to be found out, because it is illegal to dominate and mistreat another person, right? So this man has all these empty penthouses. And so she just begins filling them up with her people. No one makes an attempt to offer a dime to this guy. Now, let me just ask you this question right off the bat. Does this sound like a man who is working to establish control? Does this sound like a man who's working to kind of get over on another person? Or does this sound like a person who is being turned into a floor mat? Is this a guy who is getting used, and then what the recordings show is abused? Right? This is not a guy who is dominating and domineering and controlling anything and everything in his environment. This is a guy that fell in love, took a chance on a woman, and basically he's now sleeping with the enemy. And she brings in reinforcements because the people that have now been called to testify on her behalf were both people that she moved into the penthouses to mooch off of Johnny Depp. And miraculously, although Amber Heard has made these spectacular claims of the most horrendous forms of violence and abuse that, I've heard in a marital relationship, neither one of them saw anything. Neither one of them saw Johnny Depp harm her. Neither one of them. Oh. However, one of her very own witnesses has been struck by Amber. So Amber Heard's own witnesses coming in only prove one thing. Amber Heard hit Rocky. Now, they ask Rocky, well, why are you not friends anymore? Well, she struggled with this question. She did not want to answer it. And in the long run, she said, well, I wanted to just focus on other relationships. Okay, that's if you read between the lines of that comment, it could be a bit sinister, or it could be highly reflective of a personality disorder. In its most benign form, Rocky is saying, hey, Amber dominates your time and everything else. And if Amber doesn't get what Amber wants, then she just knocks the shit out of you. So it's a important thing. If you're going to be Amber's friend, you better be willing to figure out what she wants and give it to her. And so if she needs you to be with her 24 hours a day, then you damn well better be with her. I mean, Amber moved these people right next door so that if she needed them, if she needed their support, then they would be there at her beck and call. The more sinister possibility is that Rocky was tired of being abused. The more sinister, I needed more time with friends, is I had to get out of this the domination and the abuse and the emotional manipulation of this young woman who is out of control. I had to save myself. Has anybody else noticed, as beautiful as Amber Heard is, as famous as she is, has anybody noticed that she doesn't seem to be able to keep any friends around? How is that possible? How is it possible that you are a person whose friend is Johnny Depp? And so to be your friend, to be Amber Heard's friend, means you get to live in a multi-million dollar penthouse without laying down not one single penny. Your electricity bills are paid, and there's even food made available. You get to travel to the most exotic locations on this planet free and on a private jet. You get to go spend time on a private island. Has anybody stopped for 1 minute to consider, if you're living that kind of lifestyle, free apartment, free vacations, you get limo drivers around LA, has anybody stopped for a minute to ask yourself, why in the world would somebody ever leave that situation? Now, I have my own thoughts about Io and Amber and Rocky, but I'm not really going to voice them. But I'm a bit worried. If I were to go with a more sinister, if this were Wild Speculation Friday, then I might voice it, and perhaps that'll be the subject of Wild Speculation Friday this week. But I think Io and Rocky, I think their behavior is highly suspect, right? And Rocky didn't seem very happy about being asked questions about Amber. Is she afraid of Amber? Possibly. That did come to mind. And I just found Io to be, he's just not credible. He's just not credible. Oh, I was Johnny Depp's best friend. Oh, really? Really? You think you were, huh? I don't think so. Okay. Now then. So why is it that I have scrolling across the bottom of the screen suicide hotline number? Well, because this topic is going to be a little perhaps uncomfortable. It may not be altogether popular for people, but I am in a position to understand the nuances of this topic of personality disorders and maladaptive behavior. I recognize that there are many people out there, both counselors and people diagnosed with borderline personality disorder or histrionic personality disorder or others. I recognize there are people that are on a mission to rehabilitate the image of those of the condition of borderline personality disorder. Okay, they feel as if borderline has gotten a raw deal, that it's not fair the way that borderline is portrayed in the media or even among discussions related to professionals that work in the field, right? Okay, there is a reason. I want you to think for a minute, okay? And remember, just like any other personality disorder, um, the number of diagnostic criteria are fairly large, and you're looking for a constellation of behaviors and symptoms that have long lasting established pattern over time occurring in multiple environments. And and so it is absolutely true that you can have one person with borderline personality disorder and it look one way, and then you can have another person with borderline personality disorder and you think Harley Quinn, right? Oh, a woman who is terrifying, terrifying, a woman who seems unhinged, out of control, scary. Now, if you're a rational, logical, intelligent person, then you can also recognize, one person can have cancer and it can look a certain way, and another person can have cancer and it look completely different, right? There's basal cell, which is not typically something that would metastasize and end up in death. Squamous cells, a bit more frightening. And then, something like melanoma is terrifying. There's some cancers out there that are virtual death sentence. So you hear the word cancer, you freeze and you hyperventilate, but in reality, you wait and you let your doctor explain the exact situation that you're in, okay? So there are people diagnosed with personality disorders. Tonight we're talking about borderline, who are not scary, terrifying people. They're not engaging in behaviors that make other people feel like, they should run for their life. But there is a percentage of these people diagnosed borderline personality disorder that you will find professionals that will refuse to treat. You will find professionals that will warn others, you may want to reconsider that relationship. That may not be a healthy relationship for you to be in. Have you considered the safety of your children if you get into a relationship with this woman? So there is a range of presentation. But what makes me very nervous is that there is this push to rehabilitate the image of those identified as borderline personality disorder. I understand why, and there's quite a stigma that's been built up. And we're not talking about stigma among uneducated, inexperienced people. We're talking about trained professionals that have worked in the field of psychiatry and psychology for many, many years. And there are those who will not treat this group of people. So let me ask you this question. Do you think this group of professionals is refusing to treat because they're being reactive about something they've been told? Or do you think that this group of professionals has had enough experience to know they never want to get into that situation again? You work with one person with a condition, and then you end up in a nightmare situation, let's say litigation, being sued or whatever. Coming home after going to the movie with your family, and you've got some young woman passed out on your front porch because you're not answering your phone, and they found your address and they've been sitting on your doorstep all night because they just have to talk to you. You have a couple of those experiences, and you don't need this condition to have a stigma attached to it. You're recognizing this is something much different. This is something where you're inviting a person into your professional realm that may be completely out of control. Right? Now, again, please listen to me. You can have cancer, and then again, you can have cancer. You can have the type of cancer that you go into your doctor's office and they scrape a little bit off the top of your skin and you go home and you're fine. You come back in a year and get tested again, right? You can have the other kind of cancer where you're emaciated, racked in pain, and lying in a hospice. Two different situations, same name. So please hear me, there are people who have been given the diagnosis of borderline personality disorder who are not going to act out in the manner that we hear and see Amber Heard acting out. The universal is this pathological fear of abandonment. There's a pathological fear of abandonment, and there is the condition of being consumed by emotion. That the emotion is too big for the situation, or the person is taking emotion and putting it onto a situation that they're not a part of. Projecting, in other words. If somebody is diagnosed borderline personality disorder, they run across a YouTube channel that is talking about borderline personality disorder, and maybe they don't have very nice things to say about someone that had been identified as borderline. Then that person diagnosed with borderline that doesn't know this creator from a, hill of beans will automatically project and say, oh, they're talking about me. How dare them talk about me? No, they're not talking about you. You don't even know them. You don't know what their experience is. You don't know if the person in their life that's been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder didn't hold their child at knife point to keep them from leaving. So this overwhelming condition of emotion that is very big and very inappropriate, combined with a pathological fear of abandonment, can lead people to do outrageous things. And that's at the heart of what drives many people from trying to avoid contact with people that have been identified as borderline personality disorder. You have to remember, psychiatry, psychologists, general practitioners, there's a wide array of personalities that do these many different types of jobs. There are people that are well-trained, terminal degrees, top of their field, who are very introverted. They're very rational and sequential thinkers. They don't deal with a lot of drama and chaos and emotion in their lives. For somebody with that type of personality to be forced to treat someone like Amber Heard would be devastating to them professionally. And then there's other professionals, there's other people that have a firm stance on what's required in treating these people, and they do great. They offer a great deal of help. Dialectical behavior therapy, that's the name of the game. If you or someone you love has been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, then you don't just pick up a phone and say, I need a counselor. And you don't go strictly to a new counselor or a counselor that has not had specialized training. You probably are better served to go to a psychologist with dialectical training. You're looking for the best of the best when you're dealing with something that is as big and disruptive and overwhelming as borderline personality disorder. And dialectical behavior therapy is, in fact, a type of cognitive behavioral. It's not Beck or Ellis, but it is a form of cognitive behavioral, but it focuses more on the emotional tip of the cognitive triad. Dialectical behavior therapy spends a great deal of time with the focus on, here are your emotions, this is what they mean, and here's how you can tolerate them, and then eventually, hopefully, get them down into a more manageable realm. So I'm going to speak on the diagnosis that has been given in court out loud on television about Amber Heard's behavior and her performance on the stand. This does not mean that I am making a blanket statement that every single person ever diagnosed with borderline personality disorder is just like Amber. I am not saying that. And frankly, if you believe that you're such an expert, then you wouldn't even think that. You would recognize that there are nuances and degrees of affect. Okay? Now, if this is going to be triggery to you, then I hope that you will exercise good mental health, and then you will leave this discussion right now before we really get into this. Okay? And there is a helpline that's scrolling across the bottom, available 24 hours a day, that you can make use of if you find the information upsetting. But I'm troubled. I'm troubled by a panel that I saw where a professional was attempting to normalize the behavior of Amber Heard. It is not comfortable to get a diagnosis like borderline personality disorder. I accept that 100%. But there are many people in the world that have been damaged badly, even killed, by someone that is in a outright panic, a bit delusional, because someone is trying to divorce them, because someone is trying to leave the home. We've had kids kidnapped in an effort to try to avoid abandonment, real or imagined. Johnny Depp lost his finger for a reason, and that is because this young woman was on drugs and lost her shit. Excuse my language. She lost it. Her highly, heavily controlled external demeanor got broken down by the drugs, and all of that turmoil, all of that inner emotion came exploding outward. Okay. So what you're looking at is the same photograph. It was proven in the Sun, the trial in the Sun. This is the same photograph. Hold on just 1 minute. Okay. If my audio is still good, would you put a 1? Make sure that I don't mess up here. Okay. So this is the same. Oh, Kate can hear me. I wonder why Gigi is saying she can't hear me. That's very strange. Okay, so this is a photograph. This photograph was made the day that the restraining order was made. And it was made in the courthouse, which was against the rules of the courthouse. It's against the rules, but the rules weren't made for Amber. Don't you understand that? The rules are for everyone else, not for Amber. Today, we saw Amber walk off the stand and leave the courtroom before the jury and before the judge. She had a temper tantrum. Who called it? Right? She lost it. Even with all of her acting ability, her ability to dissociate and detach and compartmentalize, she lost it. You notice as she's walking towards the door, she's throwing back the last little bit of the magical pink juice. It's actually kind of a lavender color. Well, people that are in the courtroom have gone online and said that the bailiff walked over and took the bottle that she threw away. My question is, are they testing it to see what's in it? Very interesting. I think it's incredibly interesting. Now then, so this is a photograph that was taken in the courthouse, but of course, like anybody with personality disorder, the rules are not meant for her. It's for everybody else, but not her. And during the trial for the son, they looked at these photographs and they said, hold on a minute. This is a very strange thing because her skin looks very red and this doesn't look like the same woman that's in the room with us. And so they did use a data forensic person, and rules for thee, not for me, that Amber Heard needs a t-shirt. And the data specialist said this is a manipulated photograph. She edited this photo in a manner that pulled out, it darkened the shadows and then lightened, the highlights. And so the effect was to make it really pronounced, the cracks and crevices, so to speak. Now she claims, oh, well, I'm not wearing any makeup, but look at her eyes. She's clearly wearing eyeshadow. She's clearly wearing eyeshadow on the right side. You can see the brown eyeshadow all the way up to her brow on both eyes. And so when you finish editing it to get that really dark pink on the cheek, then it also makes it look like her eye is bruised. Remember this. You have two police officers that said this woman was not injured. She was crying. Her face was red. She was not injured. If she had been injured, there would have been a police report and we would have gone in search of the guy, and that's that. They were wearing body cameras when they went into Johnny Depp's home. There is video evidence of the condition of the home, right? Video evidence of the condition of the home. And this woman today on the stand said, well, I disagree with the characterization of the police officers. They said that there was no damage in the house, and clearly there was. Okay, Amber, hold on a second. There's cameras rolling. They know that they're in the most expensive property in LA, and they recognize this could be a big damn deal. And you're trying to say that these two police officers are going to put their careers on the line by letting some Hollywood starlet get beat up by one of the world's biggest stars. For what reason? Like, why? The cops didn't even know who she was, which probably made her very angry. Would you agree? She was probably pissed that they didn't know who she was. That's my guess. Okay. So this is where we're going to start on this commentary that I've chosen to go over tonight. And I want to do that because it just highlights some really important parts of this whole overarching personality personality disorder in general, borderline personality specifically. It just kind of highlights some of the problems, right? So, problem, your rules are not for me because I'm special and I need you to leave me alone. Now, Amber is a person who has been diagnosed as borderline personality and histrionic personality disorder, and she is naming, acting out, showing video evidence of narcissistic features. And there's some real question for why Dr. Curry didn't go ahead and go with antisocial personality disorder. And the reason that I say that is because there is evidence of criminal activity that goes all the way back to when she was 14 and 15 years old. She's dropping out of school. Her license is suspended by the time that she's 17. It got suspended when she was 16. There's someone making the rounds going, no. If you don't have a license and you're caught driving and they charge you with a suspended license. Well, I checked. And this was in Texas where I live. And you are wrong about that. She lost her license. And it was not for a simple DUI. In Texas, there are some nuances with the law. If you get a DWI when you're 17, 18 years old compared to a DWI when you're 16 or younger, they have specific punitive measures in place. And neither of those are lose your license until you're 21. So what was it that Amber got herself involved in that resulted in a suspension of driving privileges before she turned 17 years old, and she lost her driving license privileges for like 4 years, 5 years? I know 3 police officers in Texas, 2 are state troopers, and they all 3 said, oh, well, it had to have been like some serious injury collision, I would think. She said that she chose the children's charity for the $3.5 million because, and I quote, because I've been doing volunteer work there for 10 years. That choice to give the 3.5 million, you've been volunteering for the last, what, 10 years? How old were you? No, she wasn't volunteering. She was going to the soup kitchen. Remember that? She likes to go to the soup kitchen, right? When she's 12. No, I don't think she was 12. I think when she was like 15. Goes to the soup kitchen. Was that community service, Amber? Was that court-ordered community service to keep you out of juvenile detention? So she's got a long history of criminal behavior. We know that. It's verified now. We have the mugshot. We have the charging documents where her license was suspended before she was 17. She left school when she was a baby. She lied. She was in Friday Night Lights, the movie. She was 16 years old. She lied on the application, the paperwork. She lied to the director during tryouts. She lied because she knew that they would never put her on in that role as a 16-year-old. She lied. I don't even want to think about the number of lies that Camille has proven that it's slanderous what she's done, the number of lies that she's told. But the point of the whole personality disorder thing is the criminal activity has gone all the way back to her early to mid-teens. The delinquency behaviors are there, dropping out of school, truancy, losing her driver's license, serving community service. Many kids that end up being sent to a place like a Christian Catholic school is in an effort to get maladaptive behavior under control. So there is this sort of long-standing pattern of dangerous behavior or maladaptive. I mean, what you would say to have a suspended license at age 16, would you say at the very least it was probably reckless driving? At the very minimum, her weight fluctuates up and down in a way that is disturbing and concerning. So we might say that it's possible that there's some binge eating or with purging. She may go through periods of anorexia, or maybe she's using stimulants. Maybe she's using cocaine. She herself said she's finding the little baggies that the cocaine comes in hidden in books. Well, who's the one reading all the books? Okay. Let's see if there was anything else I wanted to say about that before I get started. I think that was all my introduction. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started listening to this. Why isn't it starting?
That is correct.
You testified yesterday that the only difference between these two photographs is that the light was turned on.
That's what it appears to be, yes.
The light is on in both of these pictures, though. Isn't that right?
It looks to me like the one on the left has the vanity light, the makeup lights, the more yellow-hued ones that go around the mirror on, and then the one on the right looks like it doesn't have those.
But you were in the courtroom.
Isn't it true you just edited these photographs?
No, I've never edited a photograph.
Didn't you just enhance the saturation for one of these photos to make your face look more red?
No, that's incorrect. I didn't touch it.
You were sitting here in this courtroom when Mr. Isaac Baruch testified to seeing you the week after May 21, 2016, correct?
I was here.
Mr. Baruch testified that he saw you on May 22nd while you were changing the locks of your penthouse. Do you recall that testimony?
I do. I just don't know if he was right about the date, but I do remember him saying that.
Okay. Are you noticing the change in demeanor? Very matter of fact. She's presenting as if she's some well put together businesswoman, some high powered executive, perhaps. She is answering as if she is working in concert with Camille. Now, this is not the same woman that we saw on the stand yesterday. So completely different. Is she mirroring Camille? Think about that as you listen. Can you guys hear me? Nope. It was, you know what? It was not an audio. It was not an audio problem. Everything shut down. I lost my electricity blinked. And so, yeah, I'm so sorry. So let me go back here and look. If you can hear me, put a 1. And let me get an idea. 456. 456. 2 minutes. So you've missed me. Yay! Thank you, critters. Okay, so you missed 2 minutes of what I was showing. So let me get that back up. Great point. Could be Jules, but I'm pretty simple-minded. I just thought it was an epic failure at Amber attempting or trying to appear dominant and in control. Good morning. Happy. Welcome. You could be right. Hi, Hannah. Okay, let me try to get our stream back up. That was so weird because it was just complete, no electricity, and then boom, it just came back so fast. Okay. All right. So I'm not sure what you heard me say, but let me restate it and then we'll give this another try. Okay. This woman that we're listening to right now, Amber Heard on the stand from earlier, well, I guess I should say on Tuesday, because today's Wednesday. So on Tuesday, completely different demeanor. Did y'all catch that? Did you notice that she was dramatically different in her presentation? Zelda, my friend, welcome. No, I'm thrilled that you're here, but it must be very late at night for you to be here at this time of day. So welcome. Makes me so happy that you're here, Zelda. Okay, so dramatically different presentation for Amber. And as I listened to this, I thought, oh my God, she's channeling Camille. She's convinced herself that she's Camille. She's presenting as this well put together, executive powerhouse, right? Not to mention, she's a disaster. This trial has uncovered and put out there a lifestyle that is so unhealthy. And yet she willingly walked into this. She willingly put this out for the world's consumption. Willingly. They had the opportunity to say, no, we don't want this live stream. We don't want cameras in the courtroom, Judge. Neither side fought it. Why would she want all of this out in the world about her? Because she was sticking it to the guy that had the audacity to leave her. All right. So watch and listen. And I ask you, listen to her, the cadence in her voice, how the sound goes up and down, and that when she speaks in authority, but very calm, low voice. Words are coming a bit faster. And ask yourself, is she mirroring Camille Vasquez? I think she sounds like an exact duplicate of Camille, but I want to hear what your opinion is.
Miss Officer Sines testified that she met with you and she did not see any injuries on your face. Isn't that correct?
She did not consider this injury.
Ms. Heard,
There
my
were
question
cameras.
was a bit more nuanced.
So is my answer.
All right.
She is trying to put herself on Camille's level, and she's not. This right now, when Camille's at the stand questioning, she's the authority. It's her courtroom when she's the one that has the microphone. There are rules that Amber has to live by in terms of answering and responding to the questions. So as she is interjecting more and more, she's not only interjecting over Camille, she is doing it to the judge. Now, there is gossip from people that were in the courtroom that they heard Eileen. They heard Eileen screaming at Amber. Now, was that during the break after she walked out and she didn't wait for the jury to leave and didn't wait for the judge to leave? That's my guess. But the point is that we're getting a really good taste of whether or not Amber Heard has the ability to control her emotions. We have sat and watched Johnny Depp have the most horrendous accusations hurled against him. That fantasy of the bottle was one of the most demeaning things that a man could be accused of if it's not true, right? Yeah, it's a reported rumor. Absolutely.
My question is more nuanced. You sat in this courtroom while Officer Sines testified that she saw you the night of May 21, 2016, face to face, and didn't see any injuries on your face. Isn't that correct, Ms. Heard?
I believe she was testifying about these photographs, and she said that I was not injured in them.
Is it your testimony under oath now that Officer Sines testified that she saw injuries on you when she saw you in person on May 21?
Sorry, let me clarify. I was testifying that I know that that's what Officer Sines said, that she didn't consider my red puffy face injured. That's what she said.
No, she never said a word about your red puffy
Red
face.
puffy face. That was your counsel's question, correct?
That was
She
her
said-
testimony in the UK.
That's incorrect, and you know that, Ms. Heard.
I disagree.
It's just inconvenient for you that Officer Sines didn't see injuries on you on May 21, 2016.
It
Isn't
doesn't
that
matter
right?
what's convenient for me.
Right. Officer Tyler Haddon also testified by deposition about being called to the Eastern Columbia building on May 21, 2016. And he also testified no injuries on your face on May 21, 2016. Isn't that correct?
They both said that they did not consider me injured.
They did not see injuries on your face on May 21, 2016. Isn't that what their testimony was?
What their testimony was is that they did not consider what my face looked like to be injury. They didn't consider what they walked on in the house damage, but it was.
Okay. Look at the disdain on her face. Look at that. She is saying that everyone is wrong. Everyone. Every single person is wrong, except for Amber. That's what she's saying right now. She has said that everyone lied. All of the police officers lied. The driver lied. The doorman lied. All of the security people, they're all yes men. They all lied. The house manager, who was from England, who was in Australia trying to help Johnny Depp at his request, oh yeah, he's a liar too. The photographs lie. They don't reflect the reality of what happened. Everyone is lying except for who? This woman with a look of disdain on her face. This woman who feels like, well, I shouldn't be here being treated this way, without any awareness that she is the one that created this debacle. You can't go around saying things about people that are not true. There are costs when you slander another person. There's where this personality disorder comes in. That her view of the world is skewed. It's dramatically different than the way you or I see the world. And it's so different that it creates real world problems, not only for Amber, but for the people unfortunate enough to cross her path. Jason Momoa was in a long-term, very happy marriage. Very happy marriage. He does one picture with this woman. They spend a couple of months working together. He's now in an affair with her, and his wife has filed for divorce. She can't help herself. Kevin Costner went public that a couple of days on the set, she walks into his trailer naked, and he's turned her around and sent her right back out the door. He's been around long enough to know this is not what I need in my life. I've seen this kind of female before. Everybody else has a problem except for she, right? She is the one who has to tell the story, and everybody else has to believe it unquestioningly. It's dangerous and it is damaging.
You were sitting here when Officer William Gatlin testified by deposition about being called on May 21 to the Eastern Columbia building, and he also did not observe any injuries on you, did he? And that's what he testified to.
He didn't even know which one I was.
No, I think we all saw on video camera you identify yourself. Isn't that correct?
I had to because of how far away he was. He didn't even know who he was.
But after you identified yourself, he looked at you. Isn't that correct?
From a distance, yes.
And he didn't see any visible injuries either, did he?
I don't know what he saw.
He testified that he didn't see any
He
visible
told
injuries.
you what
believe
he
that
saw.
didn't. Yes.
You were also in this
Golly.
courtroom when Alejandro Romero, who worked at the front desk at the Eastern Columbia building, testified about seeing you on May 25th, 2016. Isn't that correct?
That is correct. I think he said the 25th.
Yeah. And Mr. Romero testified that he didn't see any swelling or bruises on your face when you were talking to him at the front desk.
He wouldn't have.
No, he wouldn't have, even though he had a habit, because his parents taught him correctly, to look into someone's eyes when speaking to them. Isn't that correct?
I know that's what he testified to, yes.
She is completely mirroring Camille's demeanor, her tone, and her cadence. It's unnerving. You and I recognize after the testimony from Monday, you and I recognize she's in trouble. Like we watched the testimony Monday and we could see she was literally struggling badly. Today, she's turned into a different person. I think she's convinced herself that she is 100% right. It's frightening. It's scary, the capabilities, how far someone like this might go. Do you guys remember the astronaut? Do y'all remember the astronaut who was having an affair? The female astronaut was having an affair with the male astronaut. They had been in Houston where she lived. He lived in Florida. I guess he went back to his wife or whatever. Or maybe he was getting ready to launch. It could be he was getting ready to launch. She put on a diaper and made the drive in one way. Didn't stop for bathrooms. She stopped for gas, but didn't take the time to go to the bathroom. Made the drive to get there and tried to kill him. And you say, my God, she's an astronaut. She's got to be one of the most intelligent people on the planet. Somebody who can live under pressure, tried and true. Yeah. But you didn't say anything about the potential for a personality disorder. Because it doesn't matter how smart you are. Doesn't matter how much accomplishment you have. If you have the problem of one of these personality disorders, they can exert powerful forces when you get upset. You can temporarily do things that you might not do under normal circumstances.
You testified yesterday that you sought a temporary restraining order on May 27th, 2016, because you wanted to change your locks. Do you remember that testimony?
Yes, I do.
Those locks were to the penthouses at the Eastern Columbia building. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
You changed the locks to the penthouses on May 22nd, 2016.
I attempted to.
That's why you felt comfortable having James Franco over the evening of May 22nd, 2016, Ms. Hurd?
Boom.
I do not know when James came over.
Okay.
So odd. If you find her demeanor odd, when Camille says, you tried to have the locks changed, it's not your property. This is not your property. This is Johnny Depp's property. You're having the locks changed to keep Johnny Depp out of his own property? That's illegal, Amber. You can't do that. But she tries to get the locks changed. Once she gets them changed, James Franco comes over for escapades. And by the size of his backpack, it looks like he was planning on staying there a while. With Johnny Depp over in Europe, maybe it was safe. With Amber Heard going and getting the restraining order, then maybe if Johnny Depp just accidentally showed up, James Franco is, reclining in Johnny Depp's bed, then all Amber has to do is call the cops and say, "Hi, I'm Amber Heard. I have a TRO against Johnny Depp, and he's now trying to get in my door. Will you please send officers over here and have him arrested?" That's all it would have taken. With that TRO, all you have to do is call the police, and if that named person is within 100 yards, they will arrest them on the spot. No questions asked. She tried to set him up. I believe it in my heart and soul. The timing of having James Franco come up in that elevator in the middle of the night when she knew damn well there was a camera there, was that the bait to get Johnny Depp to come home in anger and to confront her. Except because she has an unethical attorney who did an ex parte TRO, he comes home. He has no idea that there's a restraining order against him. He's trying to get into his own apartment, and she calls the cops, and he is arrested sight unseen. And then the next phone call is to about 10 million paparazzi. Is that what she was up to? The timing is incredible. Working with people that have borderline personality disorder for any length of time, you can see the calculation. You can see the setup. This woman, who even as late as 2019 is weeping and begging and crying and pleading, "Please take me back. I want to get you back, Johnny." Suddenly, May the 21st, when he says, "I'm finished. Color me gone. You are out of my life. This is not working. I don't like this. I don't want this. I'm embarrassed of myself. I'm ashamed of myself. You have brought a nightmare into my life. I don't like the person I've become since I've been around you. I'm done. I'm going to Europe with my band. I don't want to know about you. I don't want to think about you. You're out of my life. Goodbye." He leaves. So what does someone diagnosed with borderline personality disorder do? Well, she can't call him. She can't follow him around. She can't beg and plead because he's protected by tons of people. Well, you got to get him back. There's going to be hell to pay. He had the audacity to abandon her. Therefore, it's only fair game that she stick it to him. This is my opinion. It's what it looks like may have been on her mind.
Let's remind you. Can we please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 304, which is already in evidence, and play from 254 through 439?
Disgusting. This is absolutely disgusting. And notice what she does to her hair. She's trying to hide who she is or give the impression, right? And notice how thin she is. Notice that her shoulders are the widest part of her body. Look how thin she is. I'm convinced that Johnny Depp wasn't the only one doing cocaine. And James Franco knows that there's a camera. He keeps his head down. He's got a cap on. They both are aware of the camera being there. So was this her way of communicating with Johnny? Okay, Johnny, you're not gonna answer my phone. You're gonna run and leave. Let me make my thoughts known another way. And so she has a man come up to his house, knowing damn well that his security is going to see this and going to update him on what's happening at that penthouse. Guarantee you. She knew that this was going to go back to Johnny. She knew it. My opinion, it's my thoughts. What a slap in the face, right? What a slap in the face.
That's you and Mr. Franco on May 22nd, 2016, right, Ms. Heard?
That's correct.
And you're taking him up to the penthouses, aren't you?
That's where I lived, yes.
And it's past 11 p.m. at night. Isn't that right?
I'm not quite sure of the time it looked like that.
Why don't we pull that video back up?
And then she tries to say, oh, I don't know about the time. I don't know what's wrong with Amber. She's just making this so much worse.
22:51. Almost midnight, right?
That's
almost 11 o'clock at night.
Exactly.
Okay. You knew Mr. Depp was out of town the week of May 21, 2016, didn't you?
I don't know what I knew of his schedule at the time.
Oh, yeah.
You knew Mr. Depp was out of town on May 27th when you went to get the domestic violence restraining order. Isn't that right?
I don't know if I knew that at the time.
You knew Mr. Depp was heading out on a European tour that week. Isn't that right?
I'm not quite sure what I
Amber.
understood of his schedule at that time.
Amber.
You knew he wouldn't be back for weeks, right?
No, that's incorrect.
Everybody knows you're lying.
Let's go back to that recording. It's Defendant's Exhibit 598. So you testified that you and Mr. Depp were in the car outside of his studio. Is that right?
Yes.
And you were trying to prevent him from going into his studio to do drugs, right?
Yeah, to effectively start another cycle.
Oh, yeah, the cycle. The
Not
cycle
that Mr. Depp
of
was just trying to go into his
violence.
house to see his daughter, right?
She's referring to the cycle of violence, of domestic abuse, right? So just like any good, personality disorder, she goes and she reads about it and she thinks, oh, I'm so much smarter than anybody. And I now know the cycle of violence. And so now I'll pretend that that's what I was dealing with. Right? He's trying, he's at his house. His daughter is in the house. He's trying to visit with his young daughter. And Amber is in the driveway crying, begging, pleading. She feels betrayed because Johnny chose to spend time with Lily Rose. Excuse me, I have a question. How many of you women have ever felt like you were in competition with a young teenage girl? Any of you? Any of you ever had any trouble at all letting your husband or your boyfriend spend time with his teenage daughter? Any of you? No, he never touched her face, Kapal. That I heard that today. This is what is so shocking as well as infuriating. You listen to this, and this is very common for people that are living with borderline personality disorder spouses or boyfriends or girlfriends or whatever. This is what is so hard for them. This is where the gaslighting comes in. The boyfriend or the girlfriend or the husband or the wife are saying, hey, I saw you having dinner with a woman who was not me. After dinner, I saw you get on an elevator and go to room 511. I saw you stay in room 511 for 3 hours with a woman who was not me. Right? Like they have the proof. They know, they saw it all. And the person with borderline personality disorder or narcissistic personality disorder will say, I don't know what you think you saw, but that was not me. I wasn't there. I was at my office and I was working and security had already locked the building down, but I was in there. I was locked in and I thought as long as I'm locked in, I'm going to work. And I just got so into my work and I was having such great success. I was being so creative and so productive. And I'm sorry I forgot to call you. That was so bad of me not to. I don't know how I could be so unthoughtful not to contact you when I was working so hard. And the wife is looking at him thinking, you're crazy. Like, it's no question you are certifiably insane. I saw you. I was there. Well, I don't know where you were. I don't know who you could have been looking at, but it wasn't me. And the reason I know it wasn't me is because I was totally working. Totally. And I was in the wrong for not contacting you, but I promise that was not me. I saw your car in the parking lot with your license plate. No, you thought you saw a car. You're not remembering the numbers correctly. Oh, really? Because I wrote them down because I knew you were going to lie. So here's the number of the license plate that I saw. Oh my God. You are trying to set me up, aren't you? You wrote this down to set me up. I was in my office working, and you have made up and concocted this whole story, and you wrote down the numbers to my license on my car. You're going to try to sue me, aren't you? You're going to try to divorce me, and you're going to lie about me, and you're going to try to take all of my money, aren't you? Oh my God, I cannot believe the kind of person you are. You're a horrible human being. And meanwhile, the wife is going, wait a minute. You were in the hotel with a woman for 3 hours. You're the one having an affair. I didn't set you up. Yes, you did. I won't stick around for this. I won't stand to be treated this way. Okay, now, how many of you guys have dealt with this? If you've put a 1, if you recognize this dialogue and the insanity of this gaslighting crap, put a 1. I'm just curious. Anybody that's ever experienced it, you will never forget it. It is crazy, upside down, nutso, la la land, right? It makes you question everything. You lose sight of reality, mostly because you can't believe that someone could lie that much. It's such a surreal experience, right? Crazy making. That's exactly right, Hannibal. It is crazy making. So is this what you're listening to right here with Amber? Is Dr. Curry and her diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, is that what we're seeing right now? She is mimicking this unstable self-image that we've talked about. She's mimicking Camille. She's now taken hostage of Camille's persona, and she's made that now Amber's persona. Amber's mask was ripped to shreds day before yesterday, Monday. Ripped to shreds. How is she going to come back and get back up on that stand? That's what I kept asking myself. How will she do it? Not ever thinking, she's going to turn into Camille. And I, frankly, am ashamed that I didn't consider that as a potential possibility. So just get ready, because this girl right here, she ain't admitting to nothing. She won't admit to anything, no matter how foolish she looks, no matter how much of a liar she appears to be. She will not move. She will remain Camille to the end. She may get indignant. She may get angry, but she is not going to be humbled publicly. In the meantime, you see all those faces out there in the gallery watching this. Every one of them are looking at her and going, is she crazy? Like, what's wrong with her? Does she not realize that she has being revealed to be an incredible liar? No, well, it doesn't matter if she realizes it. All she's focusing on is being Camille. She's playing a role right now. That's all she's doing. She's acting out a role.
His daughter might be one of the people that was in the house at that time, but that's neither here nor there. That
Your testimony is now,
prevented him
Mr.
from entering a cycle.
Your testimony is now that Mr. Depp does drugs in front of his children.
Well, first of all, I know he does. Second of all, it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have stopped him from using with his friends, which was the problem, not whether or not his daughter was there.
Let's play, please, defendants 598,
Horrible-
4948 through 5035.
Horrible human being. Horrible human being.
5035.
I'm not. I'm itching. I don't want to be doing this. I want it just to. Why don't you just say, okay, baby, I understand. I'll go home and you do your thing, hang out with your daughter, and then I'll see you in a couple hours and we'll talk about it. Is it that difficult to say that?
I'm going to ask you this, okay? Does that sound normal? Does that sound like things that you have said in your own life? Does that sound like a rational reaction to someone who's trying to keep you away from doing something that you need to do? And our kids come first, period. Does that sound like a man who is out of control? He's in the cycle. Who is eager to rush inside of his house and do what is one of the most egregious things possible, which is to do drugs with your child? Does that sound rational? What we hear Johnny Depp's own words, his own tone in his voice. He sounds legitimately bumfuzzled that this chick is so trippy. He's like, wow, like, I need to go see my daughter. Why are you here? Why are you doing this? Please, please go away. Please go back to the house that I gave you, that you can live in free of charge. I just need you to get away from me. Let me have peace. That's what the man's asking for. He's asking for peace. He's asking for normality. He's asking for things to be quiet. He's tired of the mushrooms and the cuddle puddles and the weird friends. He's tired of the drama. He's a fairly old guy. I don't care if he's Johnny Depp. I don't care if he's famous. None of those things. The reality is he's flesh and blood. He's a human being. He's had it. He's tired. He's old. He doesn't want to deal with her personality disorder.
Or you just fucking hate me. You want to be shitty about it. Please. Just fucking, it's not that difficult. Okay?
Thank you, Mel.
I don't want to stand here in a driveway and argue with you. Okay, well, I'll see you in a little bit, okay? Please? Please. Just let me know if you're going to go somewhere. Just let me know, please, so I know.
Okay. What did he say at the very end? He said, look, if you're going to go somewhere, just let me know. That's all. He has said previously that he had tried many times to leave her, but he was not able to for fear that she would hurt herself. He had fear that she would commit suicide. He had fear of the self-harm, the cutting. He testified to that, right? And so he's saying, hey, look, just if you're going to go somewhere, just give me a heads up. Just let me know. How many of us, by the time we're, 50, 60, 70 years old, how many of us at some point in our life have said that to someone we care about? Maybe a best friend who's having a hard time, a breakup, maybe maybe a child who's going through a divorce or had a boyfriend or girlfriend break up with them. That is not controlling behavior. To say, hey, look, if you go somewhere, just give me a heads up. I just need to know you're okay. Just need to know you're safe. That's all. That is not the same thing as saying, when I get back to that penthouse, you better be there. And I mean, you better be there. If you leave to go get a Diet Coke, you better tell me, and I want to know what time you're getting back there. That, Amber, is controlling behavior. What we all just heard Johnny Depp say was a man who was sick of you and your personality problems, and he was trying to have a normal night and hang out with his daughter, and he didn't want you to go off the deep end and create some huge dramatic problem by trying to hurt yourself. So he said, just let me know. Just give me a heads up, that's all. That was not control.
And almost an hour later, you're still arguing with Mr. Depp outside, right?
I don't know how long that argument lasted, no.
Amber, you're ridiculous, and you don't know it.
Ms. Heard, you testified about seeking a domestic violence restraining order against Mr. Depp, correct?
Yes, I have.
And how you wanted to do it discreetly?
That's correct.
That you wanted as much privacy as you could have?
Yes, that's correct.
Again, let me point out, she is presenting herself as Camille, as this rational, logical, non-emotional creature, when just 24 hours ago, with no tears, right? Okay, well, that didn't work. See, that got her in trouble. So she's going to try something else different now. So now she's going to be Camille. She has no self-awareness that she is making herself look absurd. She has no awareness. Can you imagine owning a business and having this person, this type of person, working for you? Imagine that, the unpredictability, the disruption. And why is it that you're supposed to take kid gloves with her because she's diagnosed borderline personality disorder? No, that would be enabling the personality disorder. The person that is diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, or any personality disorder for that matter, they will suffer consequences to their behavior because it is so far outside the extreme. They've been given chances. All of them can tell you stories of how their emotions and their unstable self-image, how all of those factors worked against them in an employment situation or in an interpersonal relationship situation, and they were given allowances, but they always use it up. They always ruin it. But yet they will get so furious with you if you have the audacity to name it. How dare you name it? How dare you say that my behavior may hurt other people? But the reality is that it does hurt other people. That's why they can't maintain a relationship. Now today, her behavior is hurting her. She's in trouble. About the only way she had to rehabilitate the position she was in was to just come out and be contrite and say, I contributed. These are the things that happened, and cut her losses. It's gone now. Can you imagine being a director or a producer, one of the studio heads, watching this, and they are watching it? Make no mistake about it. Everybody in the movie industry is watching this. Every one of them. They don't want to be the guy that wronged Johnny Depp. You know what I mean? Look what's going on with Warner Brothers right now. Millions of people, 4 million people are saying, hey, Warner Brothers, guess what? Not going to your movies. Not going. Look at what's happening with Disney right now. Those studio executives, they're watching this trial. So who do you think, name one person that would watch this performance right here today where she is channeling Camille, and they're going to say, oh yeah, I think we should work with her. No danger there. No danger missing, losing millions of dollars on an unstable starlet. She's done. This killed her career. If she wasn't done before, she is done now.
And how you walked out to a sea of paparazzi and cameras and photographers, right?
That is correct.
And how this overwhelmed you?
It was overwhelming, yes.
Because you didn't want this attention on you?
That is correct.
If we could please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 800, which has already been admitted into evidence. This is a photograph of you taken inside the courthouse when you obtained the DVRO, correct?
That's correct.
And your friend Raquel Pennington took this photograph?
Yes, that's correct.
Because you needed to document your time at the courthouse getting a DVRO?
She just took a picture of me. I'm assuming it was in relation to my divorce, yeah.
If we could please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 801, which has already been admitted into evidence.
Notice how it's always Io, Rocky, and Amber.
Ms. Heard, this is another photograph of you taken inside the courthouse, isn't that right?
Was
That is
this a
correct.
conspiracy?
You're having a
to
photo
commit
shoot inside the
fraud?
courthouse while you were getting a DVRO?
I would not characterize it that way, Ms. Vasquez.
You have a mark on your face, right, Ms. Heard?
Yes.
You didn't use your bruise kit this time to cover it up?
No, it was the only day I actually walked out of my house without makeup on.
Well,
I had to be stopped. My best
sure.
friend saw me in the bathroom, starting to put makeup on and told me not to.
Of course it was the only day, Amber. Of course.
Please pull up Exhibit 1.
That's plaintiffs at 1.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
No.
Apologies.
That's fine.
It's already been admitted into
Yes, ma'am.
evidence. You wrote this op-ed, right, Ms. Heard?
With the help of the ACLU, yes.
That's what you testified to in this courtroom, right?
That is correct.
And this was published on December 18th, 2018, correct?
That is correct.
Aquaman was released on December 21st, 2018, right?
Yes, that sounds correct.
And that was your first big blockbuster, big budget role, right?
I disagree, but it was the first time I had like a leading role in a movie of that size, yes. Well, second time, yes.
What was your first time?
The second one.
But you were the love interest in Aquaman, correct?
That is correct.
Now, he wrote here, quote,
Yes.
and you're referring to what you claim happened after you got an ex-party domestic violence restraining order against Mr. Depp in May of 2016, right?
Are you asking me if that's what I was writing about?
That's what you're referring to, correct?
Can you just give me the question again? I'm sorry.
You're referring to what you claim happened after you got an ex-party restraining order against Mr. Depp in May of 2016.
That's correct.
You also wrote, quote, questions arose as to whether I would be able to keep my role of Mira in the films Justice League and Aquaman.
I agree, Jennifer.
This is
There'll be
also
another victim.
referring to your accusations of domestic violence against Mr. Depp, right?
This is referring to what happened to me after I got my TRO, my restraining order.
Against Mr. Depp, right?
That is correct.
These questions arose only after you accused Mr. Depp of domestic violence in May of 2016, allegedly, right?
Yeah, from the time I got the TRO, being associated with domestic violence, that's what it's in reference to, yes.
You also wrote, quote, imagine a powerful man as a ship like the Titanic. That ship is a huge enterprise. When it strikes an iceberg, there are a lot of people on board desperate to patch up holes, not because they believe in or care about the ship, but because their own fates depend on the enterprise.
Now, what you're seeing here, these are the delusions of grandeur, right? Imagining herself to be bigger than what she actually is, to be more influential and powerful than life itself. This, again, is another problem shared between narcissism and borderline personality disorder. People that are dealing with this aspect of personality, they will hear something that they disagree with, right? And we all do. Like, we all have our own ideas about things, and we'll hear something and we'll think, well, that's not right. Shouldn't be that way. We should change that or whatever. But where somebody with personality is different than you and I is that they'll take it on like a personal crucible, right? They'll become a freedom fighter. They're gonna. I had it happen to me. You know, I'm gonna reveal to the world what a horrible person this other person is. We got to take down. What was that girl's name? Miss Mensa. We got to take down Miss Mensa. She doesn't deserve to have a platform, and we're going to let all the television channels know, and everybody in my channel, call all your radio stations and put the story out that Miss Mensa doesn't deserve to have a platform. Why? Because she has an idea, a belief that's different than my own. And people with personality disorder, they'll take these moments and turn them into crusades. The people with this type of personality problem, they become crusaders, but it's on the back of delusions of grandeur. It's not real. Most people will listen and go, what? You're crazy. So what if she has a different opinion than you do? She has just as much of a right to a platform on YouTube as you do. Shut up. What's wrong with you? You're crazy, right? But that's not how people with this particular problem see the world. So this statement, the very idea that Amber is the person, the chosen one, to stand up against the Titanic. Yeah? She's the one who's going to stand as the forefront, the face of the women's movement, and she is going to tear down every man who deserves it. And that's part of what gets her in trouble. That these delusions of all-powerful self-entitlement, so big, unshakable, that's part of what gets these people in a lot of trouble. So her op-ed is also reflecting what Dr. Curry diagnosed. It's very interesting.
In this op-ed, you're saying Mr. Depp is a ship, right?
I'm making an analogy to a powerful man as a ship.
The powerful man you're referring to in this analogy is Mr. Depp, right?
I was talking about a bigger issue actually than just Johnny. I was talking about what we as a country were talking about at the time of writing this, which is when powerful men in general do something horrible or something they shouldn't, how there is a system in place to protect them, clean up after them, maintain them afloat. You know, this is a reference to not just Johnny, it was about what was happening as a culture when we were addressing a lot of Me Too issues for the first time.
The iceberg is you in this analogy, right, Ms. Heard?
I would not say that. That was not what I intended to know.
So this is another reference to your accusations against Mr. Depp.
No, this is about what happened to me once I left that relationship and got a TRO and became associated with domestic violence.
Right. But it's your testimony that this op-ed isn't about Mr. Depp, right?
It's about what happened to me after. That's correct.
It's about your experience after obtaining a temporary restraining order against Mr. Depp, right?
That is correct, among other things.
But it's not about Mr. Depp.
It is not about him.
Mr. Depp is making it about Mr. Depp, right?
Ironically.
It's kind of like that Carly Simon song, right, Ms. Heard?
I don't know what you mean.
Let's talk about the defamatory statements in the op-ed that you also claim are not about Mr. Depp. Then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. This is about Mr. Depp, isn't it?
No,
You wrote this in 2018, right?
exactly.
And 2 years prior was 2016, right?
That's true.
Okay.
That's correct. It's
So
not about
May of
Johnny.
two-
It's about what
Ms.
happened to me
Ms. Heard,
after.
my question was May of 2016 is 2 years prior to December of 2018, correct?
That's correct.
All right. May 2016 is when you publicly accused Mr. Depp of domestic violence, right?
I got my restraining order at that time.
And you publicly accused Mr. Depp of domestic violence.
Yes, that was attached to my restraining order. So yes,
May of 2016 is when
She
you
will
sought
not
a
admit
restraining
it.
order against Mr. Depp.
that's correct. And I had to
May-
provide testimony for that.
Right. And May
God,
2016 is
shut
when you
up,
walked into
Amber.
court with a mark on your face to obtain that restraining order. Yes or no?
That was the day I walked into court with a bruise on my face. Yes.
And you were photographed with that mark on your face, weren't you?
I walked out to a bunch of photographers. Yes.
May 2016 is when you told the world that Mr. Depp had physically abused you during your relationship. Isn't that right?
That I had to provide testimony as part of my restraining order application. Yes.
And that's how you became a public figure representing domestic abuse. Right, Ms. Heard?
From that point on. Yes.
That's when you claim you faced our culture's wrath,
That's
right?
when it started. Yes.
But it's your testimony under oath that this statement is not about Mr. Depp.
It is not. It is about what happened to me afterwards. That's the more interesting,
She
was
is
the more interesting
never
thing for me
going
to write
to
about.
admit it. Never.
The next statement reads, I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse. This is also about Mr. Depp, isn't that right?
Not just about him, but he is included in that. Yes.
He's the man you accused of abuse 2 years prior to this op-ed. Isn't that right, Ms. Heard?
Yes, but I wrote this op-ed in the context of many men at the time that were public figures or in this public eye being accused as well. So it was a reference in general to a larger phenomenon, not just Johnny.
Not just Johnny.
Not just Johnny.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
And then you write, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. This one's also about Mr. Depp.
I did not write that.
Well, you've
It
accused
doesn't
Mr. Depp
matter.
of
You
sexual
put your
violence in this
name
very
to
courtroom,
it.
haven't you?
Yes,
And
but
you
I was
retweeted
intending to
it.
keep that private when this was published. I had not publicly ever accused him of that.
I'm going to move to strike everything after the word yes.
No, I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead.
You may not have written this title, but you published it, didn't you?
I did not publish a title. I retweeted the article that included the title in it because that was the article.
Let's pull up, please, Plaintiff's Exhibit 3, which is already in evidence. This is a tweet from your Twitter account on December 19th, 2018, correct?
That is correct.
Your Honor, oh, it's already in evidence?
It is in evidence.
Thank you.
Yes.
So on December 19th, 2018, you tweeted, quote, today I published this op-ed in the Washington Post. Did I read that right?
That is correct.
And the tweet includes a link to the op-ed we were just looking at, correct?
That's correct.
And you can see that the title of the op-ed in your tweet is, quote, opinion, Amber Heard. I spoke up against sexual violence, right?
Yes, you don't get to change the title of an article you're retweeting.
Golly.
And that's the title that you put on your Twitter, correct?
Incredible.
I did not put it on my Twitter, no.
You linked it to your tweet.
I retweeted the article.
You published it.
I retweeted a link to an article that
It was your
I wrote.
choice.
And you
to
published it on
retweet
your
it.
Twitter account. All right.
I retweeted it.
You testified yesterday that you didn't
it's
have any
your
control
choice
over the
not to
title and
retweet
just
it.
now of the op-ed when you retweeted it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
This wasn't a retweet though, right?
A tweet? Perhaps not retweet. I'm not quite sure.
It was
I guess
a tweet.
Tweet. I misspoke. Excuse me. Tweet, not retweet.
You included a link to the electronic copy of the op-ed in your tweet, right?
That's what I was trying to say earlier, and I might have misspoke. It's like I'm trying to attach it.
Right. So you included a link, right?
Yes,
to the
that's
op-ed.
correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So you must have seen the title of the electronic version of the op-ed before you tweeted it, right?
I may have. I just didn't notice it.
Not very careful about what you publish, are you, Ms. Heard?
I just didn't notice the title.
You didn't need to include the link to the electronic version of the op-ed in your tweet, did you?
How else would I have linked it?
Well, you didn't need to include the link to tell the world that today you had published this op-ed in the Washington Post about women who are channeling
That's
their
right.
rage and about violence and equality into political strength despite the price of coming forward,
That's right.
right?
I couldn't attach it with a paper clip.
No, but you didn't need to
Oh,
attach it
you
at all to
smart
tell the
aleck.
world
Oh, I
that
see
you
what you're
had
saying.
published an op-ed.
No, the goal was to tweet about it and to provide a link so that people could read it.
The op-ed is in your name, right?
That's correct.
So if you had noticed the title of the electronic version of the op-ed before you included it in your tweet, you could have asked the Washington Post to change it. Isn't that right?
No, that's not.
But you didn't do that.
So, just out of curiosity, how many of you are watching this and wondering how it is humanly possible to go through the embarrassment of Monday and being revealed to be this tremendous liar? How do you then come back on Tuesday and be this upbeat, self-assured, confident, executive female? Anybody curious if that thought is, if you've wondered, if you've watched her and just sort of been in amazement that she seems to be so oblivious to how bad the circumstances are, put a 1. If you genuinely think that she's doing great, put a 2. I'm just curious. And we've got about 175 people. So I'm just kind of curious how people are responding to this. Is she winning you over, or do you find it to be, does she just seem out of touch with what's really happening? 1, if you think she's out of touch or oblivious, not aware of what's happening. 2, if you think she's doing well. She repeats her behavior because that mask needs to stay. No, I'm there. Yeah, I agree, Sam. But I think the problem is that Monday the mask was badly damaged, right? I think it was badly damaged. And so I think what we're seeing today, on Tuesday, what we saw, I think she took on the persona of Camille. I think she's mirroring Camille. Lights are on, but no one's home. Good morning, Teresa. Welcome. Hi, Sue Ellen. Can we say she's crazy? You can say it all day long, Sue Ellen. You find her to be outrageous. I think it's shocking. Hey, Gigi, I can't wait till it comes completely off. We saw a little bit of that, Vampy. She lost her crap when Elaine, when Elaine said, well, I have no more questions. Amber tripped. She freaked. So we got a little piece, we got a little taste of that. The wheels have come off, right? The wheels have come off. I would not miss today's testimony for anything. Just get ready, because we know, based on the things that she said on the stand, we know that she's reading social media. We know that she has changed her testimony to address the things that YouTubers have said, the critiques of YouTubers on Tube Law and Twitter, saying that she was being abused on Twitter. She's watching. She's not supposed to be, but she is. She's watching this stuff, and she's not going to be. I don't think she's going to be able to tolerate very much more of this. I don't. I think this is. Yeah, I think she is simply mirroring as an act of survival, right? I think her resources are drained. There's nothing else left for her to call on independently. And I think what we're seeing, she's in survival mode. She is acting out a part. I think at this point she's probably compartmentalized and convinced herself that this is like a movie that she's acting in, and that she's the victim, and that she's right about what she's saying. I think she is gone over the deep end. That's what I think. All right. That taunting audio, she sounds possessed. That is chilling, but that is rage, Juniper or Jojo. That is abject rage. Do you think she was admonished by the judge? I don't know, Sam. I am. They did. The bailiff took her bottle out of the trash can. I don't know what they did with it. I don't know if it was they're going to test it. I don't know what that was about. There is rumor that among people that were in the courtroom, there is rumor that they heard Elaine yelling at Amber. I would assume, I'm making an assumption here, I don't know, but I would assume that maybe perhaps it was after she stormed out. Perhaps. Yeah, the wheel, she's off the rails. When she got up and stormed out of that courtroom, there's that grand exit, though, that's so typical of borderline or histrionic, right? That role in a movie where you make your grand proclamation and then you march away with your head held high and you slam the door, and it's so fulfilling and it feels so great. But then they don't know what to do after that, because in their imagination, they never got past the grandiosity and the brilliant power of the grand exit. They don't get past that in their delusions, in their daydreams. It just turns into this idea that they're going to stand up for themselves and they're going to say what's right. And then, it'll always include some form of groveling, that the person who's had the audacity to abandon them is going to come back begging and pleading and groveling and crying to please take me back. They're not going to come groveling. They're thanking God that they're out. They don't ever want to see the person again. But in the daydream of the borderline personality disorder problem, the daydream is make a grand exit, assert your power, stand up for yourself, and then everybody is just going to fall in line and realize just how valuable and wonderful you really are, and then they're going to come back and they're going to beg for you to take them back. That's not reality. The grand exit, when they do this, when they leave in this big flamboyant peacock style, when they do that, the person left in the room in the quiet after the door is slammed, the person is standing there going, "Thank you, God." And then they rush over to the door and lock it because they can't imagine that nightmare coming back into their life. And again, you got to remember this, and this is something that a lot of people don't get. It's not the immediate interaction with this person with personality disorder that is the big problem. It's a problem, but it's not the biggest. It's not the thing that makes them fall to their knees and say, "Thank you, God, they're gone." It's all of the peripheral damage that gets done. Like with Johnny Depp, we hear him on one of these recordings talking about his son, Jack. And he's saying to Amber, "You freaked out my kid. Like, your reaction to getting wine spilled on you was so extreme. You were so over the top that Jack was scared." Like, he's watching you freak out, scream and yell at his dad, and Jack is sitting there going, what's wrong with her? Is she crazy? Is she dangerous? Is she going to, go postal and kill us all? Like, why is Amber doing this? Johnny Depp is trying to explain this to her, right? And what does she say? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I fucked up your kids. Wrong, Amber. That's not what he said. He was speaking exactly about Jack and you screeching about having wine poured on you accidentally, and the fact that Jack was scared of you because you were going crazy. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm such a mess up. I mess up everything. I fucked up your kids. That is the reality of a conversation with people that have this type of disorder. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter how reasonable you present a problem. They are going to take those words, they're going to manipulate them and turn them around into something melodramatic, overly inflated, and impossible to solve.
Right? You never asked the Washington Post to change the title.
I didn't notice it, and I didn't ask them, nor do I think I needed to.
At the bottom, do you see that there's another tweet from December 19th, 2018?
Yes, I do.
And in this one, it reads, I am honored to announce my role as an ACLU ambassador on women's rights. Did I read that right?
That's correct.
So you announced your ACLU ambassadorship the same day you posted the op-ed on your Twitter.
I think
right?
that was always the plan, is to attach the article with the announcement that I was in.
Okay, so this is an excellent point to end this video on, okay? Amber, it doesn't even do any good to try to, explain the rationale for what she does or says. But her actions say a great deal about what she may be thinking, right? Like I said earlier, she knows that Johnny Depp is leaving to do a tour with his band in Europe. He has drawn the line and said, I'm over this. I want out. This is not okay. I'm done. She changes or tries to change the locks on the penthouse, got interfered with, wasn't allowed, but made an attempt to lock Johnny Depp out of his own property, which is illegal, right? Which is why she couldn't do it. And then waits until Johnny Depp is in the air. The unethical attorney then goes for the ex parte TRO, where he has no opportunity to present any information or evidence saying, Judge, I have not been a danger to her. In fact, I am trying to get away from her. I can't think of anything I would like more than for her to just go away. Like, I don't want to fight with her. I don't want to talk to her. I don't want to argue with her. I'm willing to give her anything she wants. I just want her gone, right? He wasn't given that opportunity. She intentionally waited until he was in the air before she brought the temporary restraining order. In addition, the behavior, the actions of this woman was then to have Franco get on the elevator at 11 o'clock at night. They're cuddling in the elevator. They both know the camera is there. He's got a huge backpack like he's planning on staying a few days. And she knows damn well that the security is going to tell Johnny Depp what's happening at his property. She knows that. So I don't much care what Amber says. I'm not going to make an attempt to understand her rationale because she's clearly, as Dr. Curry said, this personality disorder is exerting incredible force that she may not even understand why she's doing what she's doing. But we can definitely look at the behaviors, because the behaviors that are so manipulative. You can look at the behaviors to get a good feel for what is the goal here. And I think the goal was to stick it to Johnny. I think the goal was to punish him for having the audacity to leave her, to divorce her, or want to be divorced, right? It was hurt. He had hurt her by doing the unthinkable, abandoning her worst fear. It didn't matter that she had beat him. It didn't matter that she had destroyed his relationship with the people in his life that he loved. In fact, one of the attorneys that's known them for quite a while said that Amber came in, it was like an Amber invasion, and that Amber proceeded to isolate Johnny Depp from every friend and family member that he had. What do we know about abusers? What do we say about abusers? They have to isolate their intended victim first. Johnny Depp did not isolate her. Hell no. Johnny Depp moved all of her people right there where they could all be together, so that all of her friends could see everything he was doing. Was he being abusive to her? Was he beating her? All of her friends were there. He was carrying her family members on trips with them. No. It was Johnny Depp that got isolated. It was Johnny Depp who had the relationships with his kids, and his wife of how many years got destroyed. She also went after Jason Momoa's family. There's plenty of evidence here if you take the time to think about the moves that she has made. Not what she said, not her mirrored behavior, not her feigned self-image. No, not the mask. But if you look at the action, and it is impossible to disregard. She retweets today. I published op-ed in this Washington Post about the women who are channeling their rage about violence and inequality. We're channeling that rage into political strength. And it's about sexual violence. Sexual violence. And at the same time she retweets that, she announces that she is an ACL ambassador for women's rights. Then Depp decides, okay, I've had enough. I can't keep doing this. She is destroying everything in my life, despite the fact that we're divorced and moved on. She's still after me. She's still sticking it to me. I've had enough. I've got to stand up. And even then, he's saying to her, just tell them you lied. Just tell them that I did not abuse you. Just tell them the truth, and there will be no lawsuit. But you have got to tell them the truth. You cannot put it out there that I am an abuser when it didn't happen. And she couldn't do it. All right. I hope that you guys have a great day today. I'm going to be watching the testimony. I hope you guys watched Legal Bites yesterday. They're amazing, obviously. I'm probably today going to watch on Law and Crime Network because it's got the split screen. And so hopefully I'll see you later on and we'll talk a bit more about this. I am very interested in the presentation of Amber Heard today. I think she is just about done. I think she's exhausted. Her available coping skills, I think, have been exhausted. They're gone. She was mirroring yesterday in a way that made her look ridiculous. And we'll see what happens today. There are many people that believe there's something in her water that she's drinking that may be calming her a bit. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. So I'll be back in a few hours and we'll pick this thing back up. Okay. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you did, please give a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. It helps my algorithm. It convinces the computer to share my videos to more people. And this will be a great way to start Wednesday morning. All right. It is hump day. Woo, 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 woo. See you later on. Bye.